Hey there, my name is Tori, and I am going to be taking you through today's topic of 3 crucial steps for behavior change. Now, whether your dog is having reactions or acting the way they are out of aggression, out of fear, out of frustration, or just overexcitement, you're going to find that these 3 steps are still needed regardless of why your dog is acting the way that he is. Now, it is really helpful in the long run to know exactly what is causing your dog's behavior and why they're acting that way, but I still want to make sure that you have the 3 steps needed to start that behavior change. And those are management, stopping the unwanted behavior if it does happen, and then teaching your dog what to do instead. So I'm going to be taking you through 3 different scenarios that you might find yourself in with your dog acting inappropriately or acting badly, and I am going to go through and show you exactly how to apply these 3 steps to those scenarios. Scenario number 1 is going to be when your dog barks and lunges while on walks. Now again, some dogs will bark and lunge because they are aggressive. Some will do it because they are just so overexcited that they can't wait to get towards what they want to see, but the leash is holding them back. So just because your dog is barking and lunging doesn't necessarily mean they're aggressive. They could just be really frustrated. As a side note, dogs that are frustrated when they are on leash are likely to still lead into aggression because of their arousal levels going so high. So that is just something to keep in the back of your head. So for barking and lunging on leash, management, the first thing we need to do is make sure that your dog doesn't get to practice unwanted behaviors. In reality, practice makes perfect, and your dog is just going to get better and better at all these things. So make sure that your dog is on leash. A lot of times people will go out on hikes with their dogs and their dog will be off leash. They see something and then they take off. And they might take off aggressively, or they might take off because they're so overexcited. You can try to change the time that you go out on walks. So if you know when you get home, your dog has a potty, you go out to let him potty, but your dog also loves to go on for an evening walk. But everyone else might be walking their dogs at the same time because they just got out of work as well. So you might want to change the times that you take your dog out for a walk. This will make it so they don't come in contact with so many various things that are going to cause them to be upset. So another example is walking in the morning. If the bus stop is close to your home and you go out for a walk and you know around that time kids are going to be congregating and kids upset your dog, then try to go after the bus has come and picked up the kids. So you're just eliminating that situation where your dog is set up to not do so well. You can also change your walking route. Sometimes there are just things we can't control, like other off-leash dogs, like people that don't respect your boundaries saying, hey, my dog might not want to say hi to you, or hey, my dog's in training, or working on polite greetings, don't just come up and pet them. So if you can't control some of these things, you might just have to find a different walking route so your dog's not put into that situation. If you do find yourself in a situation where your dog is having some kind of reaction, make sure to stop that behavior immediately. The more that he practices doing this, the better he's going to get at it. So what you could do is, because your dog is on leash, you can guide them away. You can also call over to the other person that you see and say, hey, hang on one sec, let me just get my dog further away to a better spot or even a safer spot. So if you could just hold off one sec, we're going to go this way so you guys can go ahead and pass by us. Anytime that your dog practices these behaviors, they will learn to continue to do them. So make sure you're managing it and stopping it if something happens where your dog does have a reaction. Now, you can't always live life with just these 2 stages. So what we also need to do is teach your dog what you want them to do instead. You can teach your dog that when they see something is to go to a safe place, which I call middle. And that is what you see my dog doing in this picture. Middle is simply, he goes between my legs and he stands there. For a larger dog, that's going to be able to help you get a grip on them. And one of the other things is you're now able to have, it's kind of like a bubble around your dog of safety in general. So instead of going towards and pulling and jumping towards whatever that is that he wants, maybe it's another animal, maybe it's a person, instead you teach him to go right in the middle of your legs. You can also teach them that when I see something out there that I might have some trouble with, it just means to check into my handler. So my dog Jeter here, pretty much he could be on any side of me as long as he's looking up and giving me some eye contact. He's checking in. That's exactly what I want. That is in place of that pulling it or barking or lunging or jumping. You can also teach your dog to do an emergency U-turn, and that is where they see something and they choose to turn and just go the other way. So they're getting distance away from what they're having trouble with instead of pulling and reacting towards it. And this is especially important for dogs that bark and lunge out of frustration, but even more so, dogs that bark and lunge out of aggression and anxiety. So if you check out the Facebook group, the 5-day From Lunging to Learning Challenge, this is a group I put together a little while back, and we had every day we went through a new little bit of information to learn, and people would practice and they would put up their videos. And at the very end of the 5 days, they had a really great emergency behavior where if your dog sees something, they might automatically turn and go the other way, but we also teach them a call out. So if your dog is barking and lunging, you can say, hey, or whatever word you want to use, whatever backup emergency word other than their name, you can say it, be sure they're going to respond to it, and then they're going to want to run away rather than you having to tug them away as they are still lunging forward. So take a look at that Facebook group. You're welcome to join it, go through the videos and check it out. So you're going to manage the environment, you're going to stop the unwanted behavior, and teach them what to do instead. Scenario number 2 is when your dog is barking out the window. So lots of owners will leave the windows open and let their dogs look out at things that are passing by. It's a really nice and enjoyable activity for some dogs, but others have a really, really hard time with this, and it actually makes things worse in the long run. So if your dog is barking at the window, step number 1 is to manage the environment so he cannot practice that unwanted behavior. You could have your dog on leash, kind of walking around the house, just dragging that leash. So if he goes towards the window and say he's not listening to you when you call him away, you can gently guide him away with that leash. You can put a window covering or window film up. I know that at hardware stores, they have like frosty coverings that can go on the window to make it difficult for your dog to see out, but it also lets light in. One of my favorite things to do actually is to get clear plastic that will cover the entire window. And that is something that you would Velcro up. So it's a hard plastic. You would Velcro onto the window so they can't see out. You can, leave the clear film on it or the foggy film on it. You could have kids paint on it, but they're not gonna be able to see out. The light can come in, and then you can take it off whenever you want, so you can practice training activities with your dog with that window still open. Baby gates are great. So one of the things you can do is just baby gate off maybe the room the dog wants to go into and bark out the window. Maybe it's just a small doorway that you can block off to not allow access down the hall to where the window is. Another nice thing is, so you don't have to block off an entire room for your dog, is to get an X-Pen. So an X-Pen is set up like a crate without a top on it. And you can open it up, you can move it around. It's normally metal. They have plastic ones too. And you can just open it up and have it attached to either side of the window. You don't even have to physically attach it to the wall. You can just stand it up. So that's going to block the access for your dog to get to the window. If your dog does get to the window, stop the behavior. When your dog is barking out that window, he is learning that his barking made whatever that was causing the stress go away. So say there is a person walking by. That person was going to continue to walk by regardless of whether your dog was there barking or not. But your dog doesn't know that, and he's learning that barking made them go away. This works. I need to keep doing this. So make sure that you are stopping it right away. You can if you have a leash or a long line on your dog, you can gently guide them away. Be aware that if they are really hyped up, sometimes dogs will turn towards what's pulling on them and snap. So that is why I like to make sure the hands are out of the way and you're using a long line instead of a collar grab. You can also work on a very strong call out. So when you call your dog, you know that they're going to respond to you. And take a look back at that 5-day challenge from lunging to learning, because you're going to learn a really nice call out there. Teach your dog what to do instead of staring out the window, getting hyped up, and barking. So one of the things you can do, which is my favorite, is just teach him to relax on his bed. That is a place to go to instead of going to the window. And it's not a punishment as long as you're teaching them that this is a great place to be. You'll get love, you'll get attention, you get treats. This is better than going at that window. So while you're managing the environment for him to not bark out the window, you're teaching him what to do instead. That's preferable. So when you start to take off that window covering, he's going to want to go to the bed instead anyways. Scenario number 3 is when your dog has a reaction to guests entering the home or even walking in your yard. This reaction could be, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you. I just need to jump on you and scratch you up and oops, I knocked you over too. It could be, somebody's walking into my house. I need to protect it. I need to guard it. It could also be, oh my gosh, someone walked in my house. I need to scurry away and hide under the bed because I'm just terrified right now. So the first step, manage the environment. So your dog is not put into the position or situation that he's not ready to handle just yet. You could have your dog on leash so they don't run towards the door. And again, this is especially important for aggression. Have them on leash so you can have them away from the door. And one of my favorite things is, and I love when I see this in client stores, is you can put a note on your door saying, hey, my dog is in training, please call, don't just walk in. So that will give you the chance to take the appropriate management steps. So when they do walk in, everybody is safe and your dog is not, again, put in a situation he's not ready for. You can also start off in another room. So just because somebody is walking in the door doesn't mean your dog has to be right at that door. It doesn't mean that they even have to be in the same room. They could be down the hallway where they can still see the door, but getting that extra distance is going to make it a lot easier for your dog to handle and a lot easier for him to work with you. Stop the behavior if he does get to practice it. Whether he gets off leash and runs and jumps on the person, whether he starts barking and lunging while he's still on the leash with you, make sure to stop it. Remove your dog and put him in another room. You can get a really nice strong call out, and you can also put them behind a baby gate. If your dog is reactive due to fear or aggression, they do not have to stay in the room with your guest the entire time your guest is there. And that is because we don't want them to continue to be upset. You should definitely be in behavior change training mode when your guest is there. Teach your dog what to do instead. So he can learn that I hear somebody coming, that means I go to my bed and relax, like this little pup here is doing, instead of running to the door and having a reaction. I can choose to go and relax in another room. In addition to this, you want to help your dog feel better about the situations. And that is something that is a bit more in depth that if you're interested, let me know. I'd be happy to chat with you guys and help you out on that. It is really for those reactive dogs that are so upset that they might bite somebody. And that is a different phase that we add on to this. So if your dog is going to react to guests, management, stop the behavior and teach them what to do instead. Just to recap the 3 crucial steps for behavior change, and honestly, it's a good idea to just take out a pen and paper and write this down, put it on a post-it note, stick it on your refrigerator, stick it on your desk, wherever you think it might be helpful. Management. Manage these situations so your dog does not get to practice the unwanted behavior, because practice makes perfect, and they will get better and better at it. If the behavior does happen, immediately stop it. Make sure to remove your dog from that situation, because again, it's just going to strengthen the behavior and be harder to work on and more resistant to change. And then the final step is teach your dog what you want him to do instead. So you need to take a look at every scenario where you want to change your dog's behavior and get a very clear picture of what you want that to look like. What is that perfect scenario? What is your dog doing? And then you need to teach your dog how to do those things. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I am looking forward to doing some more work with you guys and giving you some more educational and helpful material.